G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Levent Yildizgoren from TTC Wetranslate. You're based in beautiful Chelmsford, just out of London there in the UK. Thanks very much for your time today, Levent.
It's great to be with you, Troy. I look forward to our conversation.
Let's start with how we know each other. So LinkedIn, one of your team members reached out, and I'm really pleased to have you on the cast today.
Yeah, likewise. It's like I love that part of LinkedIn that enables us to connect with each other. And we had a chat like a few minutes before the recording, and how much similarities we seem to have shared, you know. So I love that part of LinkedIn connecting people. How else would I have been connected with you? So I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Thank you. Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Well, I'm a co-founder of TTC Wetranslate. What we do is we enable businesses, manufacturing businesses, international design businesses to connect with their international audience by getting their message translated professionally into over 100 languages.
Wow.
International growth is amazing. It can be very, very rewarding, as we all know, but getting emotional connection with the target audience requires to get your message adapted for the target audience.
Yeah.
You know, people are 4 times more likely to get the message if it is in their own language.
Yes.
And my company does this, and we work with manufacturing companies, just get their message, user guides, websites, sometimes agreements, contracts into the target languages.
So you specifically target or work with manufacturing companies?
Yes. I mean, as it happens, about maybe 3/4 of our customers are from manufacturing industry. When I say manufacturing, some are heavy industries like huge machineries, slitting machines. Some are manufacturing test and measurement devices like oscilloscopes. Some are, armored vehicles, and some are like ground-to-air communications, and they manufacture those devices as well as software to go with it.
Yep.
So it's a wide range of companies, and who are really trying to get the best return on investment from their international growth, international expansion.
Yeah. That's amazing though, but because you said you translate in over 100 languages.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Jeez.
I mean, we have professional translators who have been working with us on those language pairs for many years, and we also have multiple translators for the same language pair.
Yep.
So if your company comes to us, I know part of your business is distillery and brewers. We will use a translator who have suitable experience, and somebody who comes to us for armored vehicles requires a different skill set.
Yep.
To translate that documentation. So multiple translators for the same language pair, and my team spent quite a bit of time making sure that we have those skill sets available to us. They are monitored, checked, and also supported. It's not a one-way street. We have to support them so that they can actually support us. So we make sure that they are supported, nurtured, trained if necessary, and we'll do everything we can to have a good relationship with them.
How did you start out?
It's interesting. You said that, Troy. When we had our first child, my wife didn't want to go back to full-time employment. So but she wanted to do something. She didn't want to get disconnected from working life. And one thing led to another. And then she set up a small boutique translation company, translating from English into Turkish. I loved it because I was helping her, in the evenings and weekends, translating stuff. And then, that was really, really interesting. And then things started growing. And I think it was 1995 that we had an opportunity to start a large project. And the project kind of landed on us unexpectedly. And we said, and she knew I always wanted to have control of our life in respect to, what we do, how we earn our living. And we said, well, this is our opportunity. But one thing was interesting. At the time, we had 2 small children. We just moved house, had a mortgage, and the UK was lurking at the recession. So we said, so it was very based on emotional. It wasn't like running on Google Sheets and Excel spreadsheets, making calculations. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. It wasn't like that. It was like, this is our opportunity, and we'll make this work. It was
right.
Yeah. So you never looked back.
So you quit your job at the time?
Quit my job. 2 weeks notice. I was surprised. I didn't tell anyone. We decided not to share it with anyone, because if I mentioned that to my parents and my wife's parents, they would say, "You're crazy. How can you how can you leave your job?" That I also loved my job. It wasn't like some people say I hated my job, that's why I started my own business. It wasn't like that. I loved my job. I was a director in a printing company car, good salary. So we didn't share with anyone. 2 weeks notice, and then obviously, because the project also started unfolding, we had no opportunity to hire an office or anything like that. So we converted part of our living room to an office, set up computers and printers and desks and all that stuff. And French doors means that our children were at the other side of the room with our childminder. Comes like at the end of the day, my daughter will go, "Mom, I want to sit on your lap," And every time, she will come to the French doors and knock on the door. You could see them. And every time phone rang, he said, "Children, be quiet, turn the TV down. We need to speak to the customers." Nowadays, people are proud to say, "I've got dogs barking or children running around." At the time, and that was 30 years ago, at the time, it wasn't expected that, and we didn't want to give that impression that we are working from home.
Yeah.
So every time phone rang, they had to keep quiet, and they didn't like it. And we must have traumatized those poor children. And but they are happy now. So
that's good. And so I think you said before we hit record, so this is now your 30th year in business. So you technically started 1992 and really got going in 95. Yeah. And how old were you then in 1992 when you decided to quit your...
Well, I was 33 years old.
Yep. Right.
33 years old. So yeah, it was quite a long time ago. Yes. And I had hair by then.
Yeah, I lost mine before I was 20. You have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over those 30 years?
Well, it has been kind of an interesting journey. When we started, it was like almost like firefighting. We had this project. I mean, it was a luxury because we kind of rolled out to a business from one person band and me helping part-time into a like 2 people business that we were getting part-times and other people helping us. And at that time, I think it was going up to 10. So it was like a lot of firefighting. So I had no idea about the numbers. It was just paying the invoices, getting the work done, delivering, because we knew we had to deliver. Before we could look at the numbers, and we had none of these luxuries. So we had to deliver. So it was total focus on delivery. And took us like good part of 6 months. So at the end of that, when we finished the biggest part of the project, then we realized that actually, yeah, we felt confident, but we've been paying people, we were paying ourselves. Okay, we didn't go bankrupt. The children weren't going hungry. So, so it gave us confidence. And from there on, obviously, we moved to an office. We started employing people. Now, I think it took me about maybe a year or over before I start looking into the numbers. Where are we? How we want to grow? Then we realized that only way for us to grow is to add people to the business.
Yeah.
And did I do this correctly? I don't think I have. The time is a great educator.
Yes.
you learn every day. And so I think our turnover started, well, first it grew kind of quite a bit because of that large project, and then took a dip. And it kind of a little bit of a shock. Then we said, hold on, well, that's normal. And then our efforts became like getting it to the same level. Mm-hmm. It took us probably a few years to get it back. And knowing what I know now is that had I focused on our numbers, the turnover, everything differently, I think the business would have grown a lot more.
Yeah.
One lesson that I've learned is that apparently it's a common mistake that a lot of business owners do. When they do their first hire, they hire people to do admin stuff, mm-hmm. projects, admin. Whereas the first hire should be, now knowing what I know, should have been somebody who's generating revenue.
Yes.
Because I was, we were happy to do that stuff. We were doing it anyway. And by the time people come in and learn the stuff, takes a good few months anyway. And so that would have been the biggest differentiator. Yep. Had I employed people on revenue generating roles rather than admin roles.
Yep.
I don't know if you share this idea.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree with that. It is a common mistake, I think. But so how many team members are you up to now, full-time equivalents?
Well, at the moment, there are 11 of us.
Yep. And
that includes myself, that includes my wife, and the our podcast coordinator, mm-hmm. and the marketing person. And yep. the rest of our, but also, I don't believe in multitasking, but any of us could turn into, we can, if we are very busy in a project management department, we can turn into project managers. Not necessarily multitasking, but we have this skill set that enables us to support the project management team, yes. should we have a project that requires attention.
Yeah, right. So there's about 7 people that focus on doing the translation work?
Well, they're actually project managers, because we are, I don't know if I mentioned, we are accredited by ISO 9001 and the Translation Quality Standard 17100. And they set very strict processes for managing translations, managing projects, even finding how to find freelancers. And so there are very strict guidelines. And for us to focus on these processes, our colleagues purely focus on project management side of things. Yep. So all translations are done by freelancers, obviously, qualified and experienced. And our project management team currently, 5 colleagues work full-time on this, mm-hmm. but they can pull in colleagues. Like, our managing director, she's a qualified project manager. Our senior team is all Prince 2 qualified. Yep. This is the de facto project management methodology in the UK, and also I think internationally accepted methodology. So
yeah, Prince 2.
All our seniors,
it's one of the big ones.
All our senior team is Prince 2 qualified. Mm-hmm. So it is much easier we kind of understand the same language and same communication requirements when we talk to the customers, knowing what we know. I think it's a common thing also that we think that everybody knows what we know.
Yep.
It's not always the case, So yeah, it helps us. So we can pull, if there's a project or stuff that requires attention, we can just be all hands on deck.
Yep. When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Well, there had been a number of times that I had this feeling. I think the first one is when we delivered that project and we got the payment. So that was like, yes, great. I think it was our first victory, because had we not got paid, it would have been a disaster. And now, I don't recommend this to anyone, doing stuff on emotional basis.
Yep.
But when you do it on emotional basis, some other details can be missed easily. Now, knowing what I know now, we didn't even have a purchase order. We didn't have any memorandum of understanding in place. So we had so many stuff missing in the equation. But when it finished and it was delivered, he said, that was great. And then I think the next one came when we moved to our offices in Chelmsford after 7-8 years working the other side of, very close to London and traveling 50 miles every day. We said, well, none of our clients live around us near the office. So why are we here? Because we were going through all this trauma of trying to get to this, especially for my wife, trying to get to the school run, collecting school children from school. It's always traffic. And so we said, why are we putting ourselves this? So we hired our first office in Chelmsford. So that was great. And in 2006, we had our own building. So that was, I think, another moment that I felt, wow, yeah, we are achieving. And 2013, we rebranded. We had an event in Chelmsford with 150 people attending, mayor of Chelmsford and everyone. And everyone thought we would just talk about translations and bore people to that. And it wasn't like that. It was all about our core values, the charities we helped. We had someone from Second World War who was in the Arctic campaign. He came and said, look, this guy's translated my, he received this accolade from, I think it was Putin at the time, from Russia, and then same accolade from the British Prime Minister for their role in the Arctic campaign. So he said, can you translate this? I want to know what it is, because he lost comrades in the war. And he was there with his wife. They were in tears every time we mentioned it and showed the video. So it was like a very emotional event in many angles. So that made me really proud. We put our team together. We had our friends. We had our people that liked us. I was thinking, would anyone turn up? There was 150 people in the room.
That's great.
It was really an emotional time. So yeah, there has been a number of stuff, and yeah, and I'm pleased to say it is kind of continuing. It's not like you're not running flat.
Yeah.
Now we doing the podcasts, and wrote my book. That was also made me really proud. Not on my account, because I wouldn't be able to write that book had I not got a support from my team and my family.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for all of them for enabling me to produce that book. So yeah, it's been kind of continuing, and hopefully it will continue going in that direction.
What does success look like to you?
I believe we never looked at it. We never looked at success in terms of dollars and bank balances. It was about doing what we believe, providing a good service to customers, making things fit for purpose for them, and also supporting development of our colleagues and the charities we support. That is, if I can do this, if I can continue supporting the charities. I mean, we support United Nations Global Goals number 8, which is economic development and training. As long as I can continue doing this stuff, as a part of that, we do this translation challenge competition for the last 9 years. It will be the 10th year next year in January. And we started with 1 university. Now there are 3 universities. Hopefully 4 and 5 will follow. As long as we continue doing this and spreading the message out, getting people interested in languages and translations, yes, that is success. That's, I will say, success. And also seeing my colleagues, my team develop both professionally and personally. That is, for me, that's the picture of success. Maybe I draw it too much bigger picture, but that's how I see success.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Well, I would say having a niche is so important.
Yep.
And when there's a niche, I mean, there's something that I learned the hard way. When there's a niche, it is so much easier to market. But as like most business owners, we had this concern: if you were too niche, we would lose interest of other people around us. And it's not the case at all. Having a niche, even a micro niche, is so important because it can make the message get to the right audience in the most economical and most efficient way. So I would say have a niche, and that will rocket your marketing.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think it was Dan Kennedy, the great American author. The Americans say niche, and one of his sayings was, "The riches are in the niches."
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
How did you fund the business?
Well, we funded totally from our own resources. To get started, obviously, funding meant no salaries.
Yep.
That's what funding meant. Guys, we're funding this business. Yeah, we're not paying ourselves. Like the business owners come at the bottom of the list when when the funds are tight, we are at the bottom of the list, and when things are good, okay, we gradually start getting to the top. But no, it was purely with our own funds.
Right. So no other investors or bank finance along the way?
No, we don't have investors. Mm-hmm. With the pandemic, being cautious as I am, there was an opportunity to get a coronavirus business loan, or bounce back business loan. So we had a loan, and then the moment we felt confident, we just paid it back. So yeah, there's no loans or no, there's no kind of anything sort of making me lose my sleep overnight.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Absolutely, because the language industry is so interesting, because with the advancement in technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep machine learning, it is reflecting on our business directly. Looking at what Google does with Google Translate, they don't do it for, because they want to support people. They do it as a part of the strategy, because of their growth. And same with Facebook. Facebook wouldn't be the giant in social media today had they not invested in those over 130 or 150 languages. Mm-hmm. That's what made them, rocketed their growth. So yes, I would definitely go, if I had the funding, would go into language industry in a different sort of level, I would say.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Well, I think the most stressful point is when you hit the first brick wall, because when we were growing, that was a lot easier. And then we started employing people. And then after like our fifth hire, then we realized that, hold on, this is not growing the way we wanted to grow. Then now I realized that that was our first brick wall. And to get over to the other side of the brick wall was little painful. Had we spotted that brick wall in advance, it would have been a lot more easier.
Yep.
I hear this from other business owners, like hitting that first million turnover, whether it is US dollars or Aussie dollars or British pounds, hitting that first million is the hardest. And then going over the second million is gets even harder in a different level. Mm-hmm. So when we hit that first brick wall, because we haven't spotted it in advance, that was painful. We couldn't grow the business in proportion to the number of people we have. And then we went over it by other hires, but that was painful. Had we spotted that, it would have been much easier.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
It was all admin, project management. So nothing wrong with that. It's very important to get that right, so that customers cannot be assured that the company is delivering what they need. That was the most of the time that I spent. However, again, I think the number of years in business teaches you. And knowing what I know now, I would spend that time putting processes and systems in place, mm-hmm. and getting the right hires based on our core values to do those things, to implement those things, the things that I was doing, getting processes so that other team members will do it for our clients.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Probably finance side of things. But now you would say that's crazy, right? Because as a business owner, that should have been the most important part. But that seemed to be the sort of the most tedious part for me. But now I know that was totally wrong. Wrong feelings. Whereas I know people who come from accounting backgrounds, they run a lot more successful businesses. They may not have the same, emotional connection to what they do, but in terms of finances and growth, they seem to be doing really well. I think we were too much connected emotionally to what we did. The finance became almost like something that we had to do, but never had time to do it.
And what do you love most about growing a small business?
I think it is seeing the team developing and growing to the roles they do, and seeing everybody's professional and personal growth. That is the most satisfying thing for me.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Well, that was really about developing the niche. That I think that's what I try to do now. I think that was the biggest shift.
Yep. Yeah. Same with me. Early in my career, learned it a bit too late. What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I love that question, Troy. The first thing is being hungry to learn and having an open mind. It is so important. But it is actually somebody that I love reading his books. Is someone called Daniel Priestley, and
he's an Australian, isn't he?
He's Australian, yes, indeed. Yes,
I just finished listening. Oversubscribed. I just finished listening to his book, I think.
That's yes. I was going to say that's one of the books that I read, and that I heard this from him, and it made so much sense. He said, the best idea you had 5 years ago, he said, is the biggest baggage you're carrying now, or something along these
Yep.
lines. And I know the way he said it is a lot more understandable. But that resonated so much because, things change, industries change. We change. Therefore, having an open mind, hungry to learn, which really can translate into self-development. That is the most important part. Then the second thing I would say, having systems and processes in place. We learned this again over the years. Now, everything we do, we probably have on our intranet maybe 300 videos. How to do this? Every year we have to do something for instance, what they call confirmation statement for the company, telling the government that the shareholders and this and still the same, or if there are any changes. Every year to do this, because you do it every year, you either pay someone to do it or do it yourself. And I choose to do it myself, but every year then I noticed that actually I spend like 30 minutes to do this 2-minute task. Why? Because I forget how to do it. Now we have a video how it is done. So I don't have to do it. I can ask one of my colleagues to do it because there's a video. How to do this, how to create a statement or even in the project management side of things. So we have a video for everything. None of our colleagues will ask a question without first checking the intranet. And their task is, if it's not on the intranet and you do something, please make sure you create a video and put it on. So, and that's been a kind of an interesting journey. For the last 2 years now, we ended up with maybe 300, if not more, videos for everything that requires attention.
Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com.
Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Well, I love to talk about our core values in our business. What is the core values of business? And the hires that I did, matching to those core values, has worked really well. Had I known this when I first started, that would have made it a big difference as well. But then you learn. And I'm proud to say that I have been learning all the time. And the core values of the business, documenting those core values, and then hiring people to match those core values has been the best line of decision that we made. Because once they match those core values, of course, we can't turn them into like pilots or train drivers. They can learn skills as long as they have the basic skills that enable them to learn more skills. It's okay, they can learn, but we can't teach them those core values. If they are not matching, if the core values are not matching, it's very difficult to find the happy medium. So that has been my best hires have been the ones that match to our core values. And now I talk about our core values all the time. And hiring and firing is based on those core values.
And what are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Documenting core values, making sure that everyone knows about them, because the biggest mistake that we do, not just as business owners, not like most people, we assume that everybody knows what we know. It's never the case. When I speak to IT people, I can see the great example of that. They get into a conversation with architecture and infrastructure and throwing all these names and acronyms. I say, what I don't understand the word of what has been said to me. Then I can see very clearly that they assume that everybody knows what they know. So I try to turn this around. And so what I was trying to say is that I don't assume that everyone will know our culture or core values. So those core values are documented. And what we expect the team members, what sort of core values we expect them to follow. We don't want them to sit down and just do what they need. We want them to enjoy themselves, enjoy what they do. We want them to challenge themselves and their environment. We want them to be team players, but be challenging and do things that is good for the environment, good for them. And one example is we had a team meeting recently. When I say recently, it was in October, and one of our team members said about an experience that their friend had in a school in far eastern part of Turkey. The children in a boarding school, they were sleeping, because of the lack of resources. It was so cold that they had to sleep with their coats on. So we heard this and we took action straight away. And we sent like boats and coats and stuff, winter clothing to about over 100 children. And I love that part of our culture that somebody comes across and feels safe enough to say things that they are feeling, and then we take action. Because we are small enough business, we can take action. And that was, I felt really proud about that they could share this problem with us. And then, we took action, and it was very, very, very satisfying.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Balance in the even like work-life balance.
Yeah.
Troy, I never understood that question. Well, not your question. I mean, I never understood this work-life balance thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's life. I'm speaking with you now. By the way, I love being talking about this. Is this work? This is life. I get up in the morning and speak to my colleagues because we work remotely. For me, work and life balance, it's all life. For me, it's all part of my life. I'm not one of these people, and I feel kind of sorry for them, people who live for the weekend.
Yeah.
They can't wait for the weekend, and they wait for the weekend. And Monday morning is like going to their death sentence. For me, I feel sorry for them because what we do defines us. And it's all about our life. So I believe I got a perfect balance. Well, my wife and my children may not agree with me at times, and you know how it is. It changes from time to time. For me, yes, it's all about life.
And how much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
This is something that I started doing maybe in the last 10 years. And I started with actually Daniel Priestley's accelerator. And that was one of my biggest investments. That was in 2011, 2012, I think. And then following from them, then I kind of took part in various activities, but I do spend considerable time reading, joining workshops, and also having coaches, business coaches. Yes, definitely, it's something that I wish I started doing 30 years ago.
Yeah, yep. That Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have many. I had a friend. It's a very much like, it's not for everyone, and to be mentored or to be able to receive mentoring, there needs to be certain. We realize that in order for this to work, people need to be on the same page and same kind of share same values. Yes, I did have mentors, and yes, I'm pleased that really worked for me.
And do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No. It is it's me, my wife, and our managing director. It's it's a kind of in a small board that meets on quarterly, look at things and evaluate things. Yeah.
All right, Levent, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Hardest thing is to decide where to spend your resources on. Running a business is quite a lonely thing, and when you're the owner or co-owner of the business, it is finding hard to be accountable. Accountability seems to be the hardest thing, and that doesn't make it easier, that makes it harder. So where do I go next? How do I grow the business? How do I grow the team? What comes first? Is it chicken or egg? And where do I spend our resources, both financial, and also team-wise? So these making those decisions, this is when having a coach or a mentor comes really handy.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
Well, there are 2 books that I love, and one of them is like Gino Wickman's Traction.
Yeah, I've just
talks
started
about
that.
That's a great book. They talk about the entrepreneur operating system.
Mm-hmm.
That's been really helped a lot about the values, 90-day action plan, core values, and how to make meetings, get right people in the right seats. So it's been a great, for anybody who wants to grow their business, that book will be priceless.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Daniel Priestley's Oversubscribed.
Yep.
That's about, I'll read his subtitle, how to get people lining up to do business with you.
Yep.
So this definitely I would recommend.
Yeah, I've just finished that literally last week, that book. Yeah, I thought it was a great
All right.
one. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Well, I'll start listening to yours now that I know what you've been doing, and there are a number of posts. I mean, I can't remember the names right now, but on my smartphone, I got a number of podcasts that I listen to, and every single one of them has been very helpful, and there are stuff that I learned. There's small nuggets from each one.
Yep.
So definitely it's a great tool.
And one tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
Having a right database. I'm not talking about like a fancy CRM tool or fancy email marketing tool, but having a database that leads the way for managing the relationships are so critical. I'm looking at sometimes I look at our previous correspondence and emails, and then realize that actually we haven't been in contact with this person with whom we had a very good relationship, but we haven't been in touch for 2 years. And I feel really bad about this. And having a database in that respect can be a great tool for any business owner or entrepreneur to manage stuff.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 30 years ago?
Well, I will tell myself, do not get distracted, have a niche, have a business coach, and invest in your self-development like crazy.
That's very good advice, Levent. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today. I think the audience get a lot of value out of what you've shared with us. And congratulations to you and your wife and the wider team. It's terrific growth over 30 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Troy. It's been total pleasure. One thing I'd love to offer to your listeners.
Yeah.
They can have access to my book.
Yep.
Good Business in Any Language. It talks about a simple 5-step methodology that I call Lingo, that they can apply to any business for their international growth. And I'd love to offer them free of charge. they can visit levent.team to have access the ebook version or paperwork if they're in the UK, or they can purchase it from Amazon.
Great. Well, we'll link
And
through that
it's
in the show
totally
notes. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, we'll definitely link
My
through
pleasure.
it.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.